Before we carry on, I want to ask you a big favor. Please subscribe to our podcast channels and on YouTube as well. This will help us to grow the channel and get more guests on board for better interviews and more information. Thank you and enjoy the show. Callan, thank you for joining me today. Appreciate it. We had a little chat before we started the recording, and you said you're born and bred in Cape Town. Tell us about it. Why food? How did it start? Give us a bit of background.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on the Context Pod. Really appreciate it. It's quite an interesting story, Ettienne. I'm previously from the finance industry, and I studied asset management and was responsible for being an analyst covering what is the food and hospitality sector. So I really started to study these listed companies that did fast food. The big ones are like Famous Brands and Spur, and quite a lot of international companies as well. These happen to be really good businesses when they reach those levels of scale. And so I took a keen interest in the sector, if I could start like that. But then again, I was also a consumer. As you say, I live in Cape Town, and you know how it is when you get a job. You move out of home, all of a sudden mom's cooking isn't always available. And so you're always looking for convenient options to keep you going. And I noticed a very big trend from my analysis was that internationally there was this movement towards a more considered quality fast food product. And that was something that was taking off in the developed markets in America and Europe, in Australia, in the East. And when I looked inward into the South African markets, I didn't see any major plays happening at a big level. And I was also, as a consumer, quite frustrated, was that if I needed to get a convenient meal, a quick meal while I was at work, or dinner after a long day in the office, there weren't any majorly quality offerings. I like to live a healthy lifestyle, and I like to eat something that's considered. And so I felt that frustration as a consumer. But from a business perspective, I could see there was a gap in the market in South Africa. That was the first and most important realization. What I could never have predicted was there was a company called Tortilla Modern Mexican, which opened up 1 kilometer from our office. And these guys had done a wonderful job of creating a fresh, high quality, build it your own Mexican takeaway joint. It was completely different to the traditional Mexican, which you think of as like Tex-Mex, which is, deep fried and a little bit greasy and all those sorts of things. And it was this clean, healthy, build your own Mexican. And that really caught my attention. And I could never have predicted that. I became a regular customer of this business. And I always had a little spark inside of me, saying, I love this country. We need to create employment. There are opportunities here. There's lots of challenges, but there are opportunities. I actually know quite a lot about these businesses given my professional life. I wonder if I could get involved in this business and have a crack at scaling it and bringing this, what I thought, an excellent product to the South African market. You know how it goes, though. I'd studied a lot and I was on a career path, and you kind of put your tail between your legs and you carry on with your life. What I couldn't have predicted was 2 months later I went to go get a burrito from Tortilla, and there was a sign on the door saying that they were closing. And I'd befriended the staff by then, and I looked at, I still remember her name, Melissa, the manager, and said, "What's going on? Why are you guys closing? It looks busy every day, the food's great. What's the problem?" And unfortunately, the founder of the restaurant actually had to move to the UK because his wife was British and she was having a child, and he was trying to run the restaurant from the UK. And as you would have known, it's an exceptionally difficult thing, almost impossible thing to do when you only have one store and no support. And so he wasn't able to make the business work. I looked at Melissa and said, right, give me his email address. If I keep these doors open, will you guys carry on and work in the restaurant? Because I don't know how to run the day-to-day of the restaurant. And she looked at me with a special glint in her eye, and she said, "Absolutely, please keep it open." And so that was the crazy coincidence. I went to work the next Monday, and we were the proud new owners of Tortilla Modern Mexican, and we'd bought the restaurant. And so that was kind of how the journey started, which is, my purpose is to bring this more considered, more quality, improved fast food offering to South Africa. So that's kind of how it started.
What's the model? What's the integration? If you're looking at you and you're looking at the business as it currently is, you're doing food, you're doing more wholesome food. You want to get to the consumer with a more wholesome product that has the nutrients and the goodness that everyone wants in the product. How does this model work? How do you get that product to the consumer?
Yeah, that's a great question. You've hit the nail on the head. We actually do it structurally. We've got a central kitchen which prepares and manufactures the food fresh daily. It's restaurant quality food prepared fresh daily. We then deliver that food fresh every day to each one of our restaurants. And so we sell that fresh food daily to our customers from our restaurant. So there's an incredible amount of work in the back end, structurally, that we do to maintain recipes, to maintain freshness, to maintain the quality of the ingredients. That is much easier to manage in a centralized kitchen. We've got one team, one set of recipes, one ordering and procurement team, and it's the hub of our business. So that is really the back end, which allows us to then, across our locations, sell this fresh quality fast food. That is extremely different to the competitors, where the larger chains are getting frozen food delivered to their restaurants. It's okay that it's frozen because it's low in nutrients. The way to prepare it is you deep fry it. You take it out the freezer and literally deep fry it and serve it in a polystyrene box to the customers. Ours is completely different. And so we've had to put a lot of work into allowing us to scale this fresh quality food across our locations, and the central kitchen is the key unlock for that.
If you're making fresh food, as you say, and you prepare and you distribute it to the different outlets, who do you use to get your fresh produce from? I think there's something deeper here, where you're part of the community and you're actually working closely with the community to get that fresh products to you daily to be able to make this. Is that something that you value in the company, and the way going forward? Is there any plans to broaden out the structure?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first and foremost point is that our procurement is done. We've got a network of suppliers that are trusted, and quality is the most critical test that we go through a rigorous process before onboarding any of the new suppliers. And so the first and foremost fundamental principle is that the food is fresh. It's the highest quality we can get. On the meats, it's free range. The fresh stuff is delivered every single day, sometimes twice a day. And so we can keep that cycle of food super fresh and to our quality standards, very structurally inside our central kitchen. Looking forward, it's going to become a bigger and bigger part as we grow our brands. The goal is to get beyond the suppliers and actually get to the farms, and create a network where we can take the food from the farm to the consumer. And that's something that would resonate massively with us. The brutal truth is that it's difficult to do that right now, given the size of our business. We've got 6 restaurants, and we've grown nicely over the last couple of years, but we are not in a position to do deals with farms because of the volume that you require. However, we do have a plan for that, and as we continue our growth trajectory and open more stores and widen our offering to the customers, we then able to circumvent the suppliers and go straight to the farms. In the interim, we have really good relationships with our suppliers, and they have really good relationships with the main farming community that supplies the food that we all consume. And so our biggest test now is the quality and the trust of our suppliers that we choose and onboard currently today. But in time, we would love to skip that and get straight from the farm to the customer's mouth. That's the longer term play, but it's simply not possible right now. But it is definitely in our plans and something we're working towards.
With the current locations that you have, and with the new trend taking COVID that was 3 years ago, what's the trend? Is it more office workers that you cater for? Is it the people that actually work all day? They want to get dinner, they buy it in the afternoons from you, take it home. Tell us a bit more about how that works.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I started on this journey before COVID, so 1 or 2 years before COVID, the pandemics started. And where we sit today is two completely different worlds. So, just to be clear, COVID was a black swan event for our industry and for a lot of industries, as you know. But where it changed massively for us was there's two areas. The first area was the success or the popularity of third-party delivery, guys like Uber Eats and Mr. D. Just to give you a bit of perspective, before COVID, we were doing around 5 to 10% of our sales through the delivery platforms. It was kind of something we were doing. It's not that profitable because they take a big commission, but it was something we were doing as a marketing idea, and we wanted to be available on that. And we thought in the long run it was going to grow as a channel inside our business. Obviously, when COVID hit, that number went to 100% delivery, and you and I as consumers felt it. We changed a lot of our habits that were traditional before COVID. And that's why I say it was such a big needle mover. And so after COVID, there's been a couple of things that have happened. First of all, the adoption of consumers using tech and trusting e-commerce delivery really has resonated. And they say there was almost 10 years of e-commerce growth in the space of 6 months because of COVID. And that was merely because we had to, while we were in lockdown. So that was a big change. And so there's been a big increase in how many of our customers use Uber Eats and Mr. D inside our business. And that was something we had to understand and work with because it wasn't going to change. And that has really stayed true. What are we now, 2-3 years past the last lockdown? So that was the first point. And then the second point based on that was this whole idea of working from home. That also was something that never really happened before COVID. And so some of our locations benefited massively because people were working from home and living more near home. And so our suburban locations took a big uplift because people were closer to those shops and they spent more time at home. And then on the counter, some of our CBD locations, which were generally office-based, saw a hit because a lot of the population, I would say, isn't back to where it was before COVID. There's this kind of hybrid approach now where, you go into the office maybe 1, 2, 3 times a week, depending on what your company's philosophy is. And so that was really important. I think there's been a structural change because of COVID in the foot traffic and the way that the foot traffic exists, even in shopping centers, CBD, suburban malls, as I said. And then the second big way is the adoption of technology and the trust in that and consuming your products, whether it's fast food or, groceries or, goods you're buying online. So I think there were those two big structural changes that we've had to be flexible with inside SMARTFOODS.
I want to dive in a little bit into the part where what is it that people want from you food-wise? Do we tend to go more to meat-based meals now? Do we tend to go more to vegan-based meals? Is it more vegetarian? What do you see? What's the trends that you see currently? I mean, globally, everyone is more aware of what's going on around us and the environment around us. What is it that you see in the trends that people buy? What does it reflect?
Yeah, I think that's maybe another point, and COVID played a large part of this. So there's always been a health focus, but it was maybe geared to a smaller part of the population, and this is globally, and maybe that's true in South Africa as well. But COVID was a scary moment for all of us. We all faced this thought of a near-death experience simultaneously. We all had it at the exact same time. And as a result of that, psychologically, we found that most people have upped their intentions around following a wellness-focused lifestyle. and being a little bit more considered in what you eat and how you live your life from a health perspective. And so that's had a big impact and played really nicely into our hands. Obviously, I had that mindset before COVID, and that's why I wanted to, build a fast food business that started to cater towards that. But we're starting to see that spread outside of what was initially a niche into the wider market. And that doesn't mean that we need to eat, lettuce leaves and not, not enjoy our food. It's really just about avoiding the really bad items and having a balanced diet. And there's definitely been a big education across the population, or certainly our customer base, that are just wanting something a little bit more considered. Things like free range, things like grilled chicken instead of deep fried, maybe reducing carbohydrates, maybe considering meat-based alternatives, plant-based offerings, and all sorts of things like that. So I think there's been a nice movement towards our product and towards our mission. The reality is that the numbers are still heavily geared towards meat, but we are seeing good growth in the meat-based alternatives, and those continue to be a part of our offering, and we think that trend will continue, because of the health reasons, and obviously I haven't even mentioned the environmental reasons, especially with the meat side of things. So I think we're in early stages, but this is a big trend that I think will grow as we march on forward.
Looking at the pricing, we're currently in a situation globally where we have high interest rates, high inflation. On the pricing wise, for yourself, Smart Food itself as a business, what do you need to give up to get the quality out to the customer at a price point which the customer will pay for that? What's the trade-offs?
Yeah, so that's again it's almost like you're in our board meetings. I think the key thing is we are offering a considered quality fast food product for South Africa. And so the first point is that means that we are talking to middle to upper income consumers. That means we can't talk to the majority of our population currently. We can potentially get there one day, but right now our first sprint is with middle to upper market. And so we've looked around at the competing brands. We've got brands like Kauai and Nando's, and Simply Asia, brands that offer a similar type of price point and have a similar customer profile. And so that sets the structural ranges of our prices. So that's really the first point. The second point is we are very strategic in our pricing, in that we will have a value offering on our menu. We'll have an average offering, and then we'll have a premium offering for someone who's who's price agnostic. And so there's clever ways we can offer different forms of our product to meet the different types of customers. But the truth is to buy the high quality ingredients, and get the product in the way that we want it to our customers. It costs money, and so we have to charge a fair price, and we have to make the margins to have a business. But we're very cognizant of where we are, and I'm pleased to report that we do come out at a similar price point to those brands that we mentioned, and that is very important to us. The other area internally in the business is wastage and variance. So our food cost, we have to manage that incredibly well. And luckily we've taken an investment in our business towards technology, and using technology to enable us and help us squeeze out the little inches behind the scenes, so that we can pass on the right price to our customers, so that we can grow our business and reach a wider audience. And so there's quite a lot of structural back-end work that we do to keep our variance as low as possible and our wastage as low as possible. So that's really how we think about pricing and scaling this product in the country.
Let's dive a bit into that. I know you're very proud of the tech side of the business as well, and a lot of people might not know the tech heaviness that you have in the company to actually do what you do at a fair price point. let's dive into it. Can you give us a top-down approach to what you do?
Yeah, so just to go back to the early days, when I started the restaurant and got inside the restaurant chain, I learned very quickly. Just to be clear, I was in asset management. It's a different industry completely, but I learned very quickly how intense and how difficult it is to run a restaurant. It's operationally extremely taxing. You know, our kitchen opens at 5:30 in the morning, and some of our restaurants are closing at 11 p.m., sometimes midnight, and it runs 7 days a week. And so you have this world where you're always on, and always in front of customers. And the other interesting thing is we're a high volume business, so it's a fairly low ticket price but high volume. So we have to please and delight a lot of people every single day, 7 days a week. And so the operations behind that is immense. And so I was quite blown away when I started. But luckily, given my background, I'd seen the benefits of technology on some industries where it was a big enabler. And I'd also seen some industries struggle because of technology. You can think of examples like the Kodak camera or maybe Blockbuster Video, where technology enhancements actually ended their business. And so it was very clear to me that technology would be an enabler inside this business, because there was a sheer volume of data that you couldn't even consume and digest, never mind analyze, because you were just happy that you survived the day and you got to bed completely tired, and tomorrow was another day, and you'd wake up and the same thing would happen. And so you had no time, or I had no time to analyze the data or get any insights. And I remember thinking, obviously I had been an analyst, thinking how much insights there would be inside this data if I could just find the time. And so we made an early decision to invest heavily in technology to try and help us get these insights and try and get some advantages inside our business, even though we were small. And that turned out to be an important decision. And so that, 5-6 years later, we've now developed a tech platform where our entire business runs live. I can assess every single part of the business, whether it's the group, a store. We've got a community program. We can track our customers, when they visit us, what they spend, what meals they buy, and how often they visit us. We can track our staff, their HR performance, their, what are they doing well, what they aren't doing well. So we really, have doubled down on this, and we have an advantage in that we can see things immediately. And the point of that is to know your business better and give you the best chance to make the next right decision. Running a startup there's a lot of information, there's a lot of things going on. It's all about how you decide to use your time and what interventions you make to improve your business. And I'm really confident that we are seeing the reality easily without doing any work. This is presented to us on the platform. We can then reach conclusions, and we can make changes in our business every day to improve, which I hope gives us a better chance of surviving and even thriving. So that's where and why and how we use the technology. Some of the tools that we've built and the products that we've built on our internal platform have been really successful internally inside SMARTFOODS. That we've taken a decision to now commercialize some of the elements of our platform, and we believe that these tools can dramatically help other restaurant owners, just as they help us. We also know that other restaurant owners don't have time, don't have insights, they may or may not have the skills to build these products. And so we can offer these products to them at a much lower fee, much easier, and really give them the tools to try and improve their business and give them a better chance to have a better restaurant chain, make more money and live a better life and employ more staff. So it's quite an exciting venture that we're on. It's something I could never have predicted, but it really comes from us using technology to solve the problems we faced every single day, from me working behind the till running the restaurants to now us running this chain of restaurants. So we know what the problems are intimately because we are we're a client already. We use the product, and so it's quite an exciting venture and something we're looking forward to bringing to the market now.
What's your take on the holistic approach to wellness? That I think globally, we're also looking at this whole approach where wellness is not just fitness anymore. Everyone thought that if you want to be good and you want to be healthy, you need to be fit, and that's not the only point. And that's exactly what you said as well. Is that it's actually about what you put into your body. Looking at that holistically, is there a spot where you're going to plug in where this data can actually be integrated into more platforms, where you can go to the consumer and give them more data on what they actually buy on the holistic view?
Yeah, absolutely, Etienne. I think this wellness is something I'm very passionate about personally, and you're 100% right. Eating well is merely one cog in the wheel. There are other very important cogs in the wheel. Simple things like sleep, mental wellness. There are many other things that are critical to have a balanced wellness approach. Happiness, spending time with good people, relationships, not being lonely. All of these things add up to what we now getting an understanding, at least in my opinion, of what a wellness lifestyle looks like. So for Smart Foods, we can't tick all of those. We can't help you sleep, and we can't help you with your relationships. But we can certainly help you with eating well. And not only that, we can also create good customer service and be friendly and be kind between our staff and our customers. And that's something I'm extremely passionate about, is it doesn't cost us a single cent just before we take the customer's order to merely say, hi, how are you doing? Just subtle like that. And so we have this culture of happiness, and that comes through in how we behave and how we try to treat our customers. And then obviously the food is the critical element with that. Added to that, I'm watching very closely. You've obviously know about the smartwatches, and we've seen how the data that we get about our exercise and our sleep is improving. But I'm seeing trends internationally where there's something called a glucose monitor, continuous glucose monitor. And that's really interesting, because what they've proved is they can track your glucose spikes based on different things that you eat. There's a lot of misnomers about you can't eat this, you can't eat that, this diet works, that diet works. Overwhelmingly, the evidence suggests now that yes, there's certain fundamental principles that are valid for most people, but us genetically, I'm different to you, and my body is going to react differently to different meals. And that's really interesting, is that data that they're tracking now is starting to get a more balanced personal approach, which we love, compared to, we've all got that family friend or that family member that's, tells us you cannot do this, you cannot do that. And yeah, there may be a bit of validity in that, but overwhelmingly it's about we seeing what's right for you. And so if I look forward, if I look how the smartwatch has grown amongst everyone and how many people are starting to take interest into this, I can see the next leg is that you'll have a glucose monitor on your smartwatch. And so you'll be able to tell straight away from eating your meal whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. And that's really interesting to us, because we obviously are positioning our products that would prove to customers that never mind the price that you're paying for our meal, but look at the benefits and productivity and energy that you get from choosing us as opposed to potentially a cheaper offering. And it's also brought about this new concept of what is the true cost. So yes, one of the elements behind true cost is the price you pay, but what is the health cost and what is the environmental cost? And we're really positioning our business to, for that future where consumers like you and I have the data and are starting to make different decisions other than just monetary value. And that's something that's really passionate to us and something we building the business towards.
I want to walk away a bit from smart food and focus on Callan, going from corporate to entrepreneurship, running a startup. How was that transition? You gave us a bit of insight on the start, but how was that transition, and what does the journey look like now?
I think we can go on and maybe share a drink over this. There's a lot to unpack here, but I'll try to give you the high level. I think, it's very important to note that I was considered in my decision. It was a big decision to go into startup. Just to go back to my earlier story, I stayed in my job for the first year after we bought the restaurant. I've got a view that you always test the water with one foot. And so we tested it and worked after hours, and only once we had achieved and fixed the business and we had data which proved that there was a viable business here, did I make the next big step of going full time. So that was something important to note. Making that decision was tough. I should have my wife with me on this call because it's a family decision. We needed to make a call together about what was best for the family, and it really got me thinking about my purpose as a person. What means a lot to me. You only have one life. Where can I do something that I could potentially be good at, that I can offer value to the community and to the country, and hopefully if it works out we can also make a living from it. And I think this was really interesting to me because I knew the industry and I wanted to use all the skills that I'd learned as an analyst to see if that would give me an advantage and really test it on the ground with an actual business. It was one thing sitting in a chair kind of on your ivory tower where you were analyzing listed businesses. But I remember always going to those presentations and some of the founder-led businesses, guys like Steven Saad and Aspen and Adrian Gore and Discovery. I remember looking at them going, wow, I'm sitting in the presentation today, but this story started 20, 30 years ago. And this guy started from day one. And that was really inspiring to me. And then you just had to look, at what they'd created from an employment point of view in the country and what they would have done for themselves and their family. And that really meant a lot to me. So that was one of the things. The other area was, a lot of my friends and family had gone overseas and had left the country for whatever reason. And I'd kind of dug my heels in and thought, I am an optimist about South Africa and I am cognizant of the challenges, but I really took the view that I was lucky enough to get an education, to have a good job, and I wondered how I could improve the country. There's one way just paying tax and earning your job and living your life, but there was something about doing something that could employ more people. And obviously I'm proud to sit here today to say that I took what was one job, one taxpayer. We now have over 60 staff that live and die because of this idea. And that's something that's incredibly close to home for me. And I'm all behind other startups and entrepreneurs that are doing this because we have to fix the employment problem. And we can if we put our heads together. So that was another big part of it. And then I think lastly, I'd finished my qualifications. So I'd got a business science degree and I'd done my CFA charter holder. And so I thought it would be, it was a bet for sure, but I thought the risks were managed and that if it didn't work out, and the worst case scenario played out, that I could go back into the industry. And I felt that my potential employers would look favorably upon my mission, and I would definitely have learned a hell of a lot. And so I may have been a better analyst. So it was a combination of all those things. I sit here today and I'm so happy I made the decision. It is a completely different world. No one can prepare you for that. It's a different sport. It's a different game, startup versus corporate. And so you've got to adjust to that and understand that game. And that's taken a while. But yeah, super happy with it and enjoying my time. And long may it continue.
I can agree with you so much on the point where you say that entrepreneurship is not just about the money. It's about empowering other people as well, and that's the way to go forward. That's the way to build the community, and that's the way to actually uplift the economy. It's not always about the big corporates. It's the small SMEs at the bottom that's actually carrying the economy in the end. I want to close off with the next question, and then you can give us your comments on that. What's next for Smart Food?
Yeah, so we're going to roll out some more stores, expand our great product and reach more customers and do whatever it takes to delight our customers. So we want to improve the way we get them the product, improve our service, improve the convenience, and just try and solve as many of their problems as best as we can. And so that's on the restaurant side, and then on the tech side, yeah, I want to see if I can get a few other restaurant chains using our products and helping them improve their business. And so that's another really worthwhile cause. So we've got lots to do. We've got lots to achieve. It's been a great journey to date, but sometimes it feels like we haven't even started, even though we're doing an incredible amount of work. So yeah, we've got our team locked and ready. We've got our strategy, and now it's about executing well and achieving our mission.
Callan, thank you for joining us. All the best with your journey in the future. We'll definitely have a conversation again in the future, and all the best for you guys.
Thank you so much, Ettienne. It's been a pleasure to be on your show, and yeah, keep highlighting these great stories.
Thanks for you. Cheers.
Cool, man. Cheers, eh?